films this month, but I'm still gonna try to review them and just tell you guys what I thought about what I watched, and rate them. So yeah. And starting off, I'm gonna start off actually from what I last watched to the beginning, because I think that'd be an interesting order. I usually do when I watch at the start of the month, but let me start now. And the last thing I watched was the Goonies. I have never watched the Goonies, which is like weird because I feel like a lot of people watched it young, but I'm watching it as an adult. And this is a film I think from 1985. Yeah, 1985, and which is quite interesting, or not interesting, because this movie was directed in Oregon, in Astoria, Oregon. And prior to ever have seen this film, I actually went to Astoria and other town they filmed it in. Like, I went to a couple spots where they filmed it in, or I got to see some of those spots before even watching this. And let me just say, the places where they filmed the Goonies in it's absolutely beautiful. And this is, I feel like, a classic like little kid film, or not little kid film, but like, yeah, it's a kiddie film, like it has like the funny like little kid, like the funny little kid, and like the one that's driven to like find whatever. But it's not like a perfect movie, but I think for something they have for children, it's fun. It's really fun, and I honestly find it interesting to see some of the child actors who were in it, and just seeing like future roles they would take. Like Sean Astin, Sean Astin ended up being in Lord of the Rings, and he's really good in that. And Josh Brolin, don't even get me started on Josh Brolin. I love him in Dune. And then there's it's quite interesting to see how so many of the like young actors in this film would go on to win awards or like become bigger actors. I find it fascinating. Like, I never knew a lot of the actors in this were people that I've seen, but in other roles as adults. This film, honestly, it really isn't for me. I'll say that, but I liked it, and I give it a solid 3 out of 5. Sorry if it's really short. I genuinely don't really have a lot to say about it. Like, I watched it because it was on Tubi, and I was like curious, because I was like, oh, I've been to Astoria. Like, let me watch this and see if I like recognize any of the places, and I did. And right before that, I watched a film which is very interesting. It is Friendship 2024, and it stars Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson. And I forgot the name of the show that Tim Robinson is in. Let me look it up real quick. I Think You Shall Leave. I don't know if anybody has seen I Think You Should Leave, but this film, obviously, by the name of the title, it talks about friendship, but it has a lot of the same awkward humor that I think You Should Leave has. Like, it's very uncomfortable and awkward humor. But I honestly thought this was an interesting comedy, and I kind of think, like, I kind of get like the commentary they were trying to make now, after like having a conversation with my boyfriend about the movie. And I genuinely think, like, how people have been talking about the male loneliness epidemic. I think this film kind of captures what the male loneliness epidemic looks like, and how, I guess, like, men struggle to kind of like fit in, and like they kind of turn into these, they're kind of like the main character in this. I forgot his name already. What's his name? Craig. But yeah, I thought it was funny at times. I don't know if it was because the people behind me were like laughing every 5 seconds. A bit annoying, but I think it is a solid film and people should give it a watch. Also, this is a spoiler because I have to like let it out. When I was watching it and I saw Paul Rudd, I'm not gonna give a full spoiler, but when I saw Paul Rudd and I saw his hair, I was like, his hair looks interesting. Just a side note, heads up. And if you do end up watching the film, keep an eye out for that. reason, like, my top 3 for Star Wars movies, or top 4. And I know people are very harsh and critical of any, like, media that has been, like, put out by Disney when it comes to Star Wars, but I think Andor and Rogue One are some of, like, the better things that has came out of Disney, and I genuinely love Rogue One. It is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I have the soundtrack, I have the novelization, I have the comic for it, but I rewatched it after watching Andor season 2, and I'm not gonna give a lot away about Andor season 2 because that'd be messed up. But after seeing Andor, like, it really hurts a lot more, and I love Rogue One because visually it is stunning. Like, I just love the detail in the CGI, minus the Tarkin stuff. That looks god awful, but aside from that, everything else is kind of like visually stunning. It is beautiful, like visually stunning. Like they did a great job. And I'm like thinking about the cast and how good the cast is. I'm like, they have Diego Luna, and if you're not familiar with Diego Luna, you need to watch more things. I mean, he's amazing, and y Tu Mamá también, but he's great in that. It has Felicity Jones. They have Riz Ahmed, who is great in, I think, what is it called? I think it's like The Sound or something. But like thinking back, I'm like, this cast is like pretty good, and I know a lot of people love Star Wars because of like the Jedi and the Sith. But part of the reason I love Star Wars is because like of the themes of anti-fascism, resistance, and wow, characters like Luke took down the Emperor. We need to think about how resistance isn't done simply by one person. There are people on the ground, regular people, who make resistance rise without the support of the masses. The Rebel Alliance and the movement really would be nothing. But yeah, and I just love the idea of ordinary people, or like just like non-Force user folk stealing the Death Star plans. It's amazing, and you know, after watching Andor and, you know, seeing the end of Rogue One, it really hits a lot because, you know, we have these characters who fought and won't see the sunrise so that others could. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm getting like really like happy talking about this because I love the movie. It's like a solid 4 out of 5 for me. Sometimes like the script could be like not the best, but I think acting wise the actors carried, and visually it's beautiful. And moving down, we have a rewatch, but I haven't watched it in like God knows how long. This is a Studio Ghibli movie. I feel like for the past couple movie reviews I've done, I have watched one, so forgive me. I mean, not forgive me, but I saw Kiki's delivery service, which they were playing at my local theater, and I was honestly surprised to see the theater kind of packed. But I was like, I don't know, I hadn't seen Kiki's delivery service in a while, and I usually am a fan. I always am a fan of Studio Ghibli's work. I love the animation, and it's very cutesy, but I like how this one focuses on a girl, and you know, it's very clear it's focusing on her adolescence and growing up and being in that angsty phase of like being a teenager and going out into the world and being demoralized by the big city life. It's very cute, and honestly, seeing it made me like want to spend a summer in a cute seaside town and have like a little cat or a pet. But I genuinely like this movie. It brought me some type of joy, honestly, because that week I was like struggling, and watching this, you know, kind of lifted my spirit up, if that makes sense. Okay guys, I'm back. Sorry if I had to like, there's a jump. I live in a dorm, I've mentioned multiple times, but I also live in like a foresty area. So, like just right now, I am not sure what was making noise. It's probably sign up using my link, you get like a month of free, like a 1 month free subscription, or 3, I'm not sure, but you should definitely check it out. But I saw Equine Shark, which is coming straight from New Zealand, and I'm not sure if people have seen Napoleon and Dynamite, but it, like, the awkwardness, or like some of the awkward moments in this film very much remind me of Napoleon Dynamite, and also like it's very clearly like early 2000s, and the way it's shot really reminds me of that. But I think it's a good film, and I'm gonna like get a little more into it. But although it's like funny and you have characters like they have in Napoleon Dynamite, like Napoleon, he's like a liar. One of our main characters here, he's a liar. But once you get deeper in the film, it kind of gets kind of like, not deep or anything, but we get to know more about this character and why he behaves the way he does, and it kind of like, it makes you feel bad, because I was originally being like hella judgy when I was watching it of the character. I was like, oh my god, this guy's like annoying as shit. I mean, he still is, but understanding the character helped me like have a new perspective in watching it. And I've seen a couple like work by Taika Waititi. I've seen his film Boy and Next Goal Wins, and as somebody who's seen Boy, this like shift in the film towards like the second half very much reminded me of not themes, or like the seriousness that the movie Boy ends up taking. And I highly recommend watching it. I genuinely think it's a pretty good like early 2000s indie film. And yeah. Okay, next up we have something I guess more known to the public, and I feel like more people have already seen this, but it is the Thunderbolts. And I'm gonna start off by saying I usually do not watch Marvel movies. Like, I have not seen any of the Avenger movies. I have seen a couple of like of their movies. I've seen like one Captain America movie. I've seen one Captain America movie, and like in terms of like Marvel characters or people in the Marvel stuff, I've seen X-Men First Class, and I've seen the Spider-Man movies, but that's about it. So, but I'm usually not like, I usually don't go out of my way to watch those movies, or Superman, like superhero movies. Sorry for saying Superman. But I saw the Thunderbolts because I read some reviews by some mutuals of mine on Letterboxd, and I was genuinely curious to see if it was good, because I know people have been complaining about Marvel movies for the past, like, I've seen like 2 different complaints. I've seen like film people complain about Marvel movies in general, like big blockbusters like that, but then I've also seen Marvel fans complain as of recently of the recent things they've been putting out. So I decided to give the Thunderbolts a watch, and I honestly was surprised. I liked it. I honestly give it a solid 3.5 out of 4. And I'm not familiar with how most of their movies are, but this was interesting take on a superhero like movie. Like, we have all these like losers. Sorry if that's like mean. Like, genuinely, a lot of people in this like cast are not like the actors, but the characters themselves, they're described as loserish, because they are. But yeah, and I honestly loved watch this because my boyfriend knew somebody he knew who knew somebody was in it. And we watched it, and Jesus fucking Christ, this is by far the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my goddamn life. And I'm saying this as somebody who's seen a lot of weird shit, like a lot of weird films. Man Baby is odd, and I'm just gonna read the plot to you so you kind of have like an idea. I have no idea how to explain this plot without sounding normal. I'm gonna read what the plot says directly from Letterboxd, so don't be like you made that up. No, this is what Letterboxd says the plot is. Man Baby is an absurd comic fairy tale about what it means to grow up. Comedian Sal Howard has a big problem. His wife, scientist Dr. Dana Howard, doesn't want kids. To save his marriage, Sal tricks Dana into thinking he's become a real baby to show Dana the joys of motherhood. Sal's harebrained scheme works, but the plan backfires when Dana develops an hormonal serum to transform Sal into a full-time adult baby forever. Man Baby is an absurd comic fairy tale about what it means to grow up. That's the plot. I genuinely don't know what else I could say other than I decided to watch it with my boyfriend because there was one review he read where somebody compared it to Desperate Living, I think, by John Waters. And I genuinely do enjoy John Waters movies, so I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, let's like give it a watch. But this is like a very low budget film. I'm not saying all the movies on Tubi are low budget. They genuinely have good movies on Tubi. But this like reminds you of like the weird low budget like random fucking movies they have on Tubi. It's weird. It's weird. I didn't think I could be so uncomfortable watching a man act like a baby. But there was like some shots where I was just like, I can't watch this. Like I don't want to watch this anymore. But I did it because, you know, why not? Like I want to see how this ends. It was weird. And I think I'll never be the same after watching that, like genuinely. But it's interesting to know that somebody filmed this and somebody decided to take on the role of acting like a man baby. But yeah, Man Baby, interesting. I wouldn't watch it, and I honestly wouldn't. It's not something I would recommend. It was hard to watch. Yeah. Okay. Now we're getting to something normal. Actually, no, this is still kind of weird, but it's normal. I feel like more people have seen this. But I saw this with my boyfriend, and it is the 2011 movie that stars James Franco, Rise of Planet of the Apes. And Rise of Planet of the Apes is about, I can't remember what like James Franco's character's like dad has. I think it's Alzheimer's. Yeah. So this scientist character, his dad has Alzheimer's, and he's like working with a company trying to find like a serum to something, a cure to something. And one of like these chimpanzees, they're testing it on chimpanzees. And one of these chimps, she shows that like she's showing signs of like, you know, it's working, but one day she gets violent and they kill her and they find out she has a baby. So James Franco's character takes this baby chimp with him to his home and basically raises it, and fast forward, like things get crazy and they have to take it to like an animal shelter with a bunch of other chimps. But yeah. And you know, I originally did not want to see this with my boyfriend. I'm being so fucking honest. I didn't want to see it. I was like, because I remember as a child, Planet of the Apes or Rise of Planet of the Apes laying on the back, and I was never really invested. But I decided, you know, to listen to my boyfriend and like, you know, watch it because he really wanted to watch it. And you know, I definitely do not regret it because as soon as we started watching it, I was hooked. My like eyes were glued to the screen and I was so invested in the story about Caesar. But it's interesting because the CGI is kind of freaky. Like it really freaks me out how Caesar looks. But I this is a spoilers, and you know, if you haven't seen like spoilers for this, I'm so sorry to do this to you, but there's a scene, and it's the scene where Caesar, the chimp, says a word. He says no, and that scene will always like be ingrained in my brain because it's so funny. Like, I don't know why. When I saw it, I thought it was so funny, but I think it's because like the reaction afterwards, like there's a pause, and I forget the name of this character. He's an asshole, but what's his name? Let me see if I have it on the tip of my tongue. I don't know. I don't know this character's name. But like there's a pause, and then it like cuts to the reaction of the gorilla and all the other like apes when Caesar says no, and I like kind of lose it because it's like funny. But while I wouldn't say this is like a perfect film, and like the script is kind of weird, and there's like some plot holes or weird shit going on, I loved it, and I give it a solid 3 out of 5. I recommend. I think it's fun to watch. But anywho, I'm moving on to my last film, which is Sense and Sensibility, and I think this is like 1995 when it came out, and it's directed by Ang Lee. And if you don't know, it's based off the Jane Austen novel, Sense and Sensibility. I have watched a couple movies based on like works by Jane Austen, like Pride and Prejudice, Northanger Abbey, and I wanted to give Sense and Sensibility a shot because it's always been on like my recommended, so I was like, why not? And the cast is pretty good. There's Kate Winslet, I think Emma Thompson, Hugh Grant, and Alan Rickman, who plays, I think, Professor Snape in like the Harry Potter movies. I don't know, I don't really watch Harry Potter, but yeah, that's right, he's in. And although I do enjoy like Jane Austen movies, I personally wasn't really like a big fan of this one, and it wasn't like bad or anything, it just didn't have my attention. Like the story was not, it was not really my cup of tea, if I'm being quite honest. It's not something I'd like go out of my way to rewatch, but I will say the costumes were beautiful for that, and the acting from Kate Winslet was amazing. Like all the actresses were great, but story-wise, I don't know, I was just like not really feeling it at all. Like compared to her other work, like Jane Austen's like writing work. Don't know about this one. Yeah, I don't really have much to say, but if you've seen like Pride and Prejudice or Northanger Abbey, like the male characters in that one, I feel like they have redeeming qualities, and they're so good. But in this one, I'm like, this is how it ends. Like, are you being for real? Like, this is how it ends. That's what it felt like for me. Getting to the end of Sense and Sensibility, I was like, okay, whatever that means. But anywho, I think I'm at the end of this video, and sorry